So, the studio is the story of Matt Remick, who is an employee at Continental, a very Sony, Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount-like studio in Hollywood, California. It's set modern day. Apple TV Plus produced this with them. And Matt Remick's character is just kind of a hard-working guy right up until his boss's job falls out the window, and suddenly there's an opening as the studio head, the top spot, the top dog, the guy who decides what movies do and don't get funded, right? Can distribute hundreds of millions of dollars to talent to genuinely influence art in the industry. Matt Remick runs for it, gets the gig in the first episode of the studio, and we're off to the races for 7 episodes of madcap chaos in modern Hollywood, where Seth Rogen has to do his best to navigate the highs and lows of making movies, from talent who wants to private jet to a screening to executive producers who are doing drugs behind the scenes, all kinds of problems. Who knows what'll happen? The show is The Studio. Right now, 2 episodes are available on Apple TV Plus. I think the 3rd episode drops today. We have seen the first couple, and we just want to talk about it, frankly, because it's real inside baseball, which is a term I'm lifting right from Andy, but I think is perfect to describe what's happening here. It's a show for people who like movies, and we like movies, and we like cinematic television, so why not talk about it? So, Andy, what do you think of the first couple episodes of The Studio?
So I think it's promising. In our first episode, Matt Remick, he's someone who loves movies. He loves, he loves Scorsese and he loves Goodfellas and all those real artistic movies. But the business isn't necessarily that. And once he lands this job, his first assignment is to make the Kool-Aid movie, like the Kool-Aid man who burst through the wall. And by a great cameo from Bryan Cranston, he's got to make this. And Matt Remick is some guy who can't say no, and he wants to say yes to everyone. Yes to Scorsese. There's a bunch of high-profile cameos in this series. It's I think part of what the show is going to be about. And he keeps getting himself in trouble because he's promised Scorsese this, but then he's promised the studio had that, but then he keeps getting himself into these predicaments in a very Curb Your Enthusiasm style predicaments. So it's funny. But it's very, very inside baseball. But I mean, it's a lot about like things that happen behind the scenes, studio heads, movie deals, a lot of the movie business that we talk about on this show, which is great for us and appealing to us. But I don't know how much kind of the average viewer who's not really into all that is going to really appreciate it or be into it. First episode is 45 minutes long, so it's a long pilot, and every episode after that is only a half hour. So it kind of gets a little bit shorter the longer it goes. I think it's promising, but I need to kind of see more. I'm not completely sold on it.
Yeah, Industry Insider is exactly what it feels like, not only in plot and character, but also in format. The studio is shot as a oneer, right? As a one-take sequence. It's not authentic. They do some whips and hides and do some things with edits to make it look like it's all done in one take, but it's mostly these real long sequences. And that's exciting in comedy because comedy is all about timing. You guys have watched SNL before. You know that a lot of the best Saturday Night Live shorts the last 20 years came from digital shorts, things that are edited in advance so they can cut to and from and move the cameras. All of that gives you a lot more space to work. But when you shoot it in a one take like this or long oneers like this, it's a lot harder. You got to have a real tight script. You got to have a lot of real direction. And Seth Rogen is directing this alongside Evan Goldberg, a longtime partner. Weird that he's directing and also on screen for much of the show. It's a real challenge. But I think a lot of that contributes to the feeling that Andy and I are getting watching this show, which is, God, are normal people going to go for this? Are they even going to care that it's all one take? Are they going to know who Nick Stoller is, the director of Captain Underpants, when they make a joke about him in the first episode? Are they going to know that, like, when the Kool-Aid movie is actually supposed to be a movie about a bunch of food logos and brands in a grocery store, that Seth Rogen made Sausage Party, which is that movie already? Do they know it's self-referential? I don't know. I don't know if people go for this stuff. On my side, I'm enjoying it. I don't know if it's going to continue getting made. Currently, IMDb's got it listed at 7 episodes, I think. So, like, I heard it was 10. I'm not even really sure how long it's going. I don't know if it's getting a season 2, but it is unique. You pointed out when you had first watched this that it reminded you a lot of Babylon, Damon Chazelle's feature, right? Which is very inside baseball. It's all about movies getting made in the 40s and 50s. Yeah, it's kind of got that similar vibe. Like somehow it's got big colors. It's got this big, I don't know, it's big, this big approach to the industry.
Right, Babylon meets Curb Your Enthusiasm is a great description for the show. Like I said, there's a lot of fun cameos in the first episode. We see, of course, Bryan Cranston, Catherine Hahn's also in it. She's the marketing person. Martin Scorsese, who has a couple of pretty extended scenes. He's a really great actor,
Yeah.
and lots of other like people you'll recognize as writers or director. Charlize Theron makes a brief appearance, and the whole show is going to be like that. The entire series is going to be in the second episode. There's a lot of cameos from directors, writers, actors, as well. It opens with Paul Dano doing an action feature for briefly, and then Matt Remick meets him, and he could care less. Which is the other thing I wanted to talk about is like Matt Remick's character isn't super likable. He desperately
No.
wants to be loved by the celebrities, and he's like, I just want to be invited to Charlize Theron's party. So he loves the movies, but he also kind of is wanting the celebrity and wanting to rub elbows, and his inability to just kind of just like put his foot down in any one direction is, I don't know, it's kind of rubbing me the wrong way.
Yeah, Matt Remick is this like anxiety-fueled nightmare wreck of a man who is wearing clothes that are way too expensive and lives in a house he normally would never be able to afford, and will just say anything to get things rolling to the next step, and he'll just solve it along the way. And I can appreciate him being a problem solver, but he sure comes off as a yes man in episode 1. In episode 2, he has a whole host of problems for a long oneer in this fantastic little plot they've got starring Greta Lee's in it. I like the industry stuff. Yeah, I like the cast. The cast list for the show reads like that Marvel announcement for who's going to be in Avengers. Like it's like 50 bangers back to back. Charlize Theron shows up in the first episode. Like, I think it's funny and I think it's good stuff. I don't know if Apple's going to make a bunch of money on this. I don't know if people are going to go for it. Like, it sure is odd. It feels like I'm in good hands watching it, but I just don't know who else wants to join me in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it remains to be seen. Third episode is out today, so we'll be checking that out. We'll be keeping up with the show, seeing how it goes. Apparently, Hollywood itself is loving it because it's about themselves, and everyone's going like, "Oh, is that about me, or is that about this
Yeah.
person at the studio?" That, and again, that's interesting to them, and it's interesting to those of us who know these people. But like, you know, Catherine O'Hara's in this, and she's apparently supposed to be Amy Pascal, who we were talking about in the news, and it's like no one is going to know that if you're not
Right.
really into the studio, and even if you do you care?
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's about all I got to say on the studio. One of the show we want to talk about, just briefly, because I think we want to talk about this more next week. We started checking out Adolescence on Netflix, which I know has been getting a lot of attention. What do you know about the show, Andy?
So I heard a lot of buzz about this. I heard about it on multiple entertainment podcasts I listened to. A friend of mine watched it as well and says you got to check out. Just watch the first episode, see if you if you like it. And so I did, and it's this really kind of incredible little show. It's short. It's 4 1 hour episodes, all done in legitimate one takes. We talk about oneers and one take shots a lot. These are legitimately 1 hour real time episodes in what is an incredible choreography of this thing. The setup is in a North English town on like some early morning. The SWAT team bursts into these normal people's house, and they say, "Where's your son? He's been accused of murder." And the son is 13 years old. He's this tiny kid. SWAT team is there. They arrest him. They got guns in the rest of the family. They take him to the police station where he's processed, and meanwhile the family follows behind, and you're not given any information. They tell the family very little. Stephen Graham plays the father, and so then you follow the process of him being processed at the prison, where he has to, you know, his rights are read to him. He has to say, "Do you understand?" He has to get his fingerprints done. Other parts of that, they eventually meet with their own lawyer, but the story unfolds very, very slowly, and he's been accused of a murder of a fellow classmate, and that's all we know. And man, it's a tough watch, but it's really interesting because it's about family and community. And in further episodes, I've watched a little bit farther, but you'll find out motivation and things like that. But the setup is really incredible. And the first episode is just unbelievable. It, like I said, it follows multiple people around this police station for the full hour, because we have the parents, we have the two police officers who are on the case and are looking to prosecute this kid. We have the parents who are like, we don't know what's going on. We need to talk to a lawyer. Other people involved, and it's really something pretty impressive. We're going to be talking about it more next week, but Zach, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, for the first couple episodes, this is something I was watching this week. We'll wrap it up next week and talk about the whole thing. So if you haven't seen it yet, you should watch along with us. Come back next week. We'll talk about the whole thing. It's good. The first episode is shot out of a cannon, like gripping television. Second episode's a little slower. I think it has to be. Like, you cannot have 4 episodes of absolute bangers. I don't really know what I'm getting into in episode 3. I hear it's also different. So it's not doing any one thing in particular. It's certainly exploring a few different areas. But uniquely, while it seems like it would be an interrogation of the system, while it would be an interrogation of policing and schooling and public education and public funding and how these systems struggle to connect with children, it's kind of a little bit more about parenting and about where you come from and who you are and how information can get twisted on the internet where parents don't understand what their kids are looking at, and how, school and police can't be your parent for you. Like, they can't do the parenting for you. You have to kind of step up and figure it out yourself. And it's tough because Graham is so emotional in it. I know he's involved in the making of the show. I think he's a showrunner, or created by, along with him and Jack Smith.
Yeah, writer as well.
Yeah, like, he is so fantastic in what's going on here, along with the lead investigator, D.I. Bascom, played by Ashley Walters, I think is his name. He's awesome. Like, really like him. Really looking forward to seeing more. Most importantly, for Netflix, this is a repeatable format. You could do like a True Detective anthology kind of thing. In a year, you can put like Black Mirror. You could put out 4 more episodes of any other story and it would work. You could go to any country. You could do any family. There's a lot of area to run here. So, like, for what Adolescence is doing, it seems really sharp and really smart. We'll talk about it more next week. I shouldn't sit here and gush about it, but we're watching it. You should watch it with us. We will keep you posted when we post next week about it. Of course, you can always subscribe, like, notification bell, all those things, so you can get to see it. And yeah, we'll talk more about Adolescence next week. In the meantime, keep up with the studio. And if it's good stuff, maybe we'll do some kind of spoiler-oriented review in a few weeks when it's wrapping up. 10 episodes of the studio, by the way. I said 7, it's 10. It's fine. Looked it up. We got to move on. Good Lord, we got trailers to talk about, Andy. An action-packed episode this week. And I'm taking the first one. Perfect. So first up, well, hold on. Do you mind introducing the name of this segment for me, Andy?
It's time for the Trailer Park.